This is Department of English, Government Postgraduate College Attack. This session is for online classes and my lecture would be for M English Part 2. I am Muhammad Ali, lecturer in English, and I will present my lecture in front of you. This lecture is for literary criticism, and this literary criticism is paper 4 of part 2. Let us discuss definition of criticism. But before criticizing the various concepts or the various definitions, first of all I would like to discuss that common people what they call criticism. Generally we say that criticism means to find faults or the drawbacks, but this is not the case with literary criticism. So in real sense, criticism is a word that has been derived from Greek language. It means judgment. So the word judgment is very important. So a judge, when he gives judgment, it means he must be impartial, neutral, and he must do justice. So it means there is justice and there is judgment in criticism. It has many other meanings as well. Thus, the art or science of literary criticism is devoted to the comparison, interpretation, analysis, evaluation, classification of works of art, etc. So criticism has become a genre or a kind itself. The origin and the meaning of the term criticism. The term criticism derives from the Greek term kritikos, which was used in the 4th century BC. It means a judge of literature. In the 2nd century AD, its place was taken by the term criticus, aimed at the interpretation of the text and words and improvement of works of writers in Greek or Latin. So the word improvement is very important. In English, Dryden used it in the modern sense in his preface to The State of Innocence. The State of Innocence is his book. He writes, criticism, as it was first instituted by Aristotle, was meant a standard of judging well. So the word standard is very important. Today, the term literary criticism aims at the study of works of literature with emphasis on their evaluation. So we evaluate, today we say that we evaluate any work of literature. It means this is literary criticism. Now look at the brief history of literary criticism. It is useful that we must have a little bit knowledge about the history of criticism. Then we will be able to understand the various books that we will study with respect to this paper. First of all, I would like to give you overview of certain periods or ages or eras. First one is the classical period, and that is 1200 before Christ to 455 CE. So it includes Greek period, that is roughly from 1200 to 500 BC, and the other is Roman period, that is roughly 500 BC to 455 CE. Then comes medieval period, 455 to 1485. The Renaissance and Reformation period, that is actually 1485 to 1660. The Enlightenment or New Classical period, that is between 1660 and 1790. Then comes Romantic period from 1790 to 1830. Victorian period and the 19th century, that is between 1832 to 1901. Modern period is between 1914 and 1945. Postmodern period that started from 1945 and still that is going on. There is a critic, W.R. Gurman. He says, although criticism takes the birth with Aristotle, yet even before there was criticism and critics who tried to fix the terminology applied to poetic drama. We find Aristophanes asking in frogs. So Aristophanes is a Greek writer, a critic. In his book, he said, "Pray tell me what particular ground a poet should claim admiration." So the word admiration, actually it is linked with criticism. He further says it was Aeschylus was also a writer, a dramatist, who says that the poet should choose a great subject and great sentiments which lend themselves to magnificence of language by making man better in some respect, while Aristophanes ridiculed his idea and said, so there is actually a discussion, there is actually a difference of opinion between Aeschylus and Aristophanes. So these writers were before Aristotle. So that's why we say that criticism was present before Aristotle. However, the critics and the people and the lovers of literature, they consider Aristotle the pioneer of literary criticism. Literary criticism begins with the Greeks, but little of their works has survived. Aristotle's poetics is mostly devoted to drama and Plato's theory. Plato was the teacher of Aristotle. Plato's theories of literature are scarcely literary criticism. So critics, they do not consider the theories of Plato as the theories of literary criticism. There is a question mark. After Greeks, Romans came. From the Romans, the major works are Horace, Ars Poetica, and the works on rhetoric composed by Cicero and Quintilian. The first important critical essay in the Christian era is Longinus on the Sublime, and the first medieval critic of note was Dante, who in his De Vulgari Eloquentia addressed himself to the problems of language appropriate to poetry. The Renaissance critics followed the classical rules and principles laid down by ancients, but we find some attempts of originality as well. Actually, there were critics who actually tried to follow the classical standards set by Aristotle, etc. But then the change came in the Renaissance period, and the critics, they began to compose their books, and they began to analyze in their own way. Means they changed certain things while explaining, while analyzing, while interpreting the text. In England, there is little criticism of note until Philip Sidney's An Apology for Poetry. This Sir Philip Sidney is included in your course, which is important because it is a detailed examination of the art of poetry. So the book An Apology for Poetry, written by Sir Philip Sidney, it is important because there is examination, there is analysis of the art of poetry and the defense of poetry, and a discussion of the state of English poetry at the time. In England, for nearly 100 years, the major critical works followed classical traditional rules. For example, Ben Jonson timber or discoveries. In England, Dryden, however, in his essay Dramatic Poesy, tried to prove an original critic with open-mindedness. However, he also remained a follower of classical tradition when he wrote his prefaces, dedications, and prologues. In England, in the next century, the critics emphasized on imitating the laws of nature, as Alexander Pope quoted in an essay on criticism: "First follow nature, and your judgment frame by her just standard, which is still the same, unerring nature, still divinely bright, one clear, unchanged, and universal light." In the 18th century, G.B. Vico, the Italian critic and philosopher, became the pioneer of the historical approach to literature. There was a reaction against new classicism. There was increasing interest in the literatures other than those of Greece and Rome. There was greater opinions about literature, about the language to be used, and about the creative and imaginative faculties of writers. Wordsworth, very famous poet, Romantic poet, presented new opinions in his preface to the second edition of the Lyrical Ballads. He wrote Lyrical Ballads. We also find new views in Coleridge, Biographia Literaria, and Shelley's Defense of Poetry. In 19th century, we come to know about Matthew Arnold's essays in criticism. Moreover, the writings of Walter Pater on culture and art, especially the Renaissance and the appreciation, had great influence on critical thinking. In the second half of the 19th century, we find many different critical theories, as it is clear from the study of the philosophy of aestheticism, the doctrine of art for art's sake, and the work of symbolist poets. There were fewer rules because the writers experimented, but in criticism, historicism was applied. Recent criticism has become analytical in the evaluation and interpretation of literature. We find this trend in the works of T.S. Eliot, Raymond Williams. These writers are included in your course. A.C. Bradley, Clint Brooks, M.H. Brown, Northrop Frye, T.A. Hume, F.R. Lewis, Ezra Pound, I.A. Richards, etc.